Oh, perfect. There
Welcome
you go.
back, everybody. How you guys doing? Eric Garcia here with
Cesar Cruz, Director of Videography at Desire to Inspire Studios.
yes, sir.
Yeah, we're doing some great work here in basically all aspects of production. We've done some of the production and post to make sure things are getting done properly for all our clients.
That's perfect. So, I do want to talk about a little bit today. We have a jam-packed episode. We have Javier coming on from Multicultural Center of Marin. He's going to be showing us a video, and we're going to be reacting to it, and then also doing a Q&A live session. So that's going to be amazing. Before then, let's talk a little bit about our recent shoots that we've been going on, and then also some of your shoots. You've been out here working as
Yeah,
well.
definitely. Yeah, we've been having a lot of fun. Some of our biggest clients that we work with right now currently is God Dogs for the Blind. It's a wonderful organization, nationally known, that really supports the different communities that need guide dogs. One of the things we do for them as a service is live stream service for a lot of their events. We want to make the process be accessible for everyone. So we adapt our model to make sure that everybody can be a part of those little moments that they share. One of the things that we have coming up for them that's going to be really fun. It's the puppy day delivery day.
Yeah.
Puppy delivery day is a really wonderful time because you have all the different puppies that are raised in the centers given to the puppy raisers. It's wonderful for everybody to exchange ideas and also see all these new puppy raisers coming in and taking on the mission to making sure that these dogs are ready so that they can later on be given to someone who is in need.
Right.
And again, this is a wonderful organization that we just love supporting, and it's consistent work for us, and we love it. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. And then we've also had some experiences now as well with other different organizations, such as Marine Sonoma Impact Venture.
Okay.
MSIV is another organization that we've done really amazing work for. That has been fantastic for us. It's basically organization that hosts these symposium or would you say conferences that
Right.
kind of seed a lot of the funding that some of these people that have small businesses or ideas for work in the future in our community that want to create the next big North Bay company. It's
Mhm.
really incredible because you learn about all these different organizations and companies, but now you've created an actual network where people get to interact and really see the needs of the community. And
Yep.
it's also our community too. So it's a really great win-win for all of us. It's another one of those spots that we love coming out to. And this year we actually did a lot of sound support for because
Hmm.
they had a little trouble with their audio system, but we stepped up. I know Trevor did a lot of great work to make that happen.
Yeah.
I was pretty happy to be a part of that project. And then we have like some of the other work that we do on a regular basis here in the studio where we have headshots. We have a little bit
Mm.
few events that we're capturing here and there. Yeah, it's been pretty incredible. Even ourselves, we got some really fun shoots that we did out in the city in San Francisco.
Right.
We really had a lot of fun with Rise Events, a really wonderful new partner that we're trying to venture with right now.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's some going to be fun stuff in the horizon with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We're pretty hyped. Again, it depends on where people want to go.
Right.
We're pretty set on making it happen.
I think it's amazing because um, everybody kind of it. I think our services and not only our services but just who we are is very essential, and I'm really happy to be a part of an organization that just provides things like being visible
Right.
on the digital age, in the digital age, and on social media and online and on these websites, like you know, seeing footage that I've filmed, on social media for other people. I'm like, oh wow, that's amazing. Like it's beyond just being there and doing the work. It's more so like, oh, now other people are going to see what it is we're actually doing and why we're doing it. And I think the why part is very important. I think that's kind of why we're doing this stream right here is letting people know like why it is we're doing it. For me,
Yeah.
it's a learning opportunity, it's a growth opportunity, it's a challenge. One challenge that I am facing and we all are facing is finding more work and finding sustainable, continuous, and
Yeah.
committed relationships, partners, and work. And so part of that for me is I've said this before, and I'm not getting paid this week, and I'm like, oh, dude, like that's fine. I don't really care about money. It's not about the money for me. If anything, that's good because now that's gonna really show like, oh, how much work are you gonna put in when you're not making any money? And for me, nothing's changed. I'm here. I'm showing up, and I did want to ask your perspective on that aspect of our business because this is a new position for you. I'm assuming
Yeah.
you've never been in this position before,
No,
and how do you
definitely.
approach it?
I think part of again going through a little bit of tribulations with like again financial burdens and things like that through most businesses is that we're not immune. Everybody is
Yeah.
being affected, especially this year. And I think part of our effort is recognizing that we need to anticipate what's going to be happening, and then different ways to find value in the work. But then also
Mhm.
essentially really do some case studies on the way we've helped other businesses grow and maintain during difficult times. During
Mhm.
COVID, that was actually one of the few times that as we pivoted our model to including live stream and different support services like that, like it actually helped us a lot, while it helped maintain a lot of these organizations and nonprofits as well. So for a lot of these businesses and people that are trying to figure out how to navigate through these like rough waters, I think right now is really a time to ask, to really assess the needs of companies and people in our community,
Yeah.
and saying like, hey, what is the best way we can bring value to you? But then
Right.
also recognize that we're not looking for just like a handout, right? We really are looking for a relationship. We're looking for a
Yeah.
way for us to really establish a connection, and then also create ongoing relationships, kind of like we have with guide dogs.
Mhm.
We have an organization here that sees the value in our work and recognizes that, hey, there's a lot of process to it, and that if by handing off that responsibility and delegating it properly, you're going to be taken care of. But in addition to that, that's going to bring all this extra value to your organization,
Mhm.
such as reach, turnability for more clients, and
Mhm.
then also be able to showcase your work properly. I
Yeah.
think for a lot of organizations and businesses, their biggest struggle is, how do I actually present my work?
Mhm.
That's where a lot of our efforts kind of come in. And I
Yeah.
think kind of assessing that need for people is really the key thing right now. And then also in our strategies too, because I think we're not as visible as we need to be. And so
Yeah.
doing something like this is kind of essential. This is kind of how the businesses kind of develop and how they grow. And then also the other aspect of it too is looking at forms of work that scale within different ideas. Maybe we start off with one project and it scales up
Yeah.
to something bigger. That's the
Okay.
other idea of the work, that we do want the buy-in so that people see the value. We
Yeah.
don't necessarily need to be making big deals right on the spot. I think a lot of
Right.
people kind of get overwhelmed when they look at video production.
Mhm.
They think like, oh, I have to sign up for this and this and this service. It's like, oh, no, no, no. We really want to make it adaptable to you
Yeah.
and really work within your range so that you feel confident that this is going to help you.
Yeah, I think on the business side of things, because it's a very there's fine lines, and like there's one part where we're helping out the community, and I mean, me from an outside perspective, seeing just coming a desire to inspire studios, being an intern, and seeing the amount of value we provide to people when they ask us like, "Yo, I need XYZ thing," and we're like, "Oh, we don't know if we can necessarily do that, but we're gonna try our best to do the best that can be done in this sort of aspect." For example, helping MSIV with audio, that's not something that we're
See,
necessarily known
wasn't
for,
for
but it's going to push our audio technician, Justin Russell, shout out Justin, to his next level to perform and get that job done. On the other hand of that, we can't, we still need to make money because we are a business, right? And that's where, like, at least me, it's a really good learning lesson to learn how to leverage those relationships in order to, develop, say like, yo, we got you this time. We're going to actually do this video. Don't worry about money. Let's get this done for you because I see the value in what you're bringing us, and I want to develop this relationship. On the other hand, when the time comes where we're like, yo, we need a job, we need work, we need, something of value from you now. It's hopefully it's to a point where they just recognize that and we don't need to ask more than once or whatever. And
yeah.
I love that because it's basically ethics. It's treating people the way you would want to be treated.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so that's
Well,
how I
you
see it.
look at like the need of the community. What are some aspect to support a business that needs to get that reach? If you're looking at
Hmm.
their social media and it looks like their demographic is like really not engaging, and they're like, hey, what is the best way to figure out ways to connect with them?
Yeah.
I know you're super clever with the reels, and like it's really
Yeah, thank
awesome.
you.
But it's a great approach because like most people aren't considering it,
Yeah.
and I think
Hmm.
you're taking different generations and trying to adapt different models for them.
Hmm.
Some people are still advertising their content just on one platform. We
Yeah.
suggest that you adapt it to multiple ones.
Yeah.
We suggest that you shoot your content in like standard mode, but you shoot it wide enough so that you can convert it into vertical
Yeah.
content.
Yeah.
Those are ideas that like we kind of know in the back of our minds, but it's a great way to standardize it and share it with someone so that they can see the value of like, oh, okay, I see someone who thinks very critically ahead of what's possible.
Yeah.
And then essentially too, you're also telling the stories of what's happening now. I
Right.
think I've been looking at like content that I made from years before, and I'm just like, oh, it's kind of funny, like where we're at and what the content looked like before, and now my content looks like now too.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's how it goes. You start to scale through it. I've gone through all the aspects of setups, from your standard little camcorder system to your big huge camera cinema rig. Like it was awesome, but even then, like I realized that even for myself, like I don't need to complicate what I'm doing. I need to
Yeah.
standardize what it is, and then make sure I can reach the quality that people are asking for.
Yeah.
And if I can do all those things by minimizing my content and making sure that I'm not carrying all these crazy camera gears,
Yeah.
like it's cool. I can make it work. I don't need to have the fancy, crazy Ari Alexa, whatever,
Yeah.
system. It's great. Don't get me wrong, like it's fantastic, but everything has to be done a certain way.
Yeah, and actually, because we just did that shoot you were mentioning, and you used your camera, your gimbal. I used my phone and a little tripod mount, and we got amazing work done.
Yeah.
And it's very simple, and I think simplicity is always the
and
key.
and the engagement is concrete and
Mhm.
like essential in terms of like the value you get from both ends, so they both
Mm,
serve a really solid purpose.
yeah.
And you can kind of see that, like, again, when you have real people behind the work, it just feels and looks that much
Yes,
better.
bro.
I think
Yes,
a lot of
sir.
people like look at this like, pre-done, preset, like plug in your stuff to, an app or something. Yeah, it's gonna be okay for a deliverable. Is it readable? Yes. Is it something that's gonna really come across of all your branding? I don't know. That's the part where you
Mm,
sort of have to mitigate and consider what you want to do. And it's not to say that you shouldn't look at the quickest and easiest value, but you should just say, hey, you know what? How much do I really want to put out? Because if you're
right.
someone who puts out good content, you want the consistency in your good content.
Yeah.
A lot of these like viral videos that work for some people, it's fantastic when they can go viral, but it's usually their next point that's the most important point.
Right. And
Because
keep
if
it
they're
up.
considering like, yeah, the reach on something is great, but I know that I have these three batches coming in, then you got something that's actually really being developed. I
Yeah.
mean, I know Mr. Beast is literally a
Oh my
beast,
God. Yeah.
and doing this work because he can also recognize that his channels were important to like develop good ideas.
Sounds great. I think I got Javier
Oh,
on.
nice, perfect.
Let me just make sure his camera is on. And we will yeah, we'll react to this video right now. That was amazing, by the way.
Oh,
It's
there he
always good
is. Beautiful.
to pick your brain. Let's bring Javier into the stream here, and we should have him on. Javier, can you hear us? Let's see, are you on mute?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you
Oh,
hear me?
perfect. Yeah,
Yes, sir. Yes,
looking good.
sir. How you doing?
Yeah, hey, what's up, guys? Hey, I'm doing great. It's nice to see you.
Definitely, man.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
why don't you introduce yourself to the people watching? There's no one watching right now, but they'll be watching later.
Yeah, it's all good. So hi everyone. I'm Javier Vicuna. I work over here at the Multicultural Center of Marin as the radio studio coordinator. Um, and my role here is to produce community radio shows. One of them being Tay Radio Marin, which Eric and Cesar um, are fairly familiar with, but it's a youth-led radio show, that tackles topics from mental health to upcoming, people in the community. So it's a really great project. It really is a passion project. And I have a great team. Shout out to Anna Lee, shout out to Kimberly, shout out
Yeah,
to Santi. They're all great people. And yeah, we've worked in the past with Eric with also recording. So we also have a studio here, a little radio studio here at the Multicultural Center, and Eric has recorded a podcast here, which was really great.
thank you.
And Cesar and his team brought their cameras and stuff, and it's been really cool. So yeah, I'm just excited to be here, and thanks for the opportunity.
Of course, and thank you guys as well for having us. I know we're gonna be shooting something next week with Trevor and I and Santi, so look forward to that. In the meantime, I have this
Awesome.
video here I want to show you. You sent this over to me, and I asked you, I'm like, so what are your goals? Because you wanted to get into videography. If you guys don't know, we have an internship program that's currently full until next year. I wanted to get you on as an intern, but I said, we got to get Javier on as like a partner. So I wanted to do this call to basically do a live Q&A session because I know you have a smart brain and you're a smart guy and you have a creative mind as well. And so when you sent me this video and I asked you like, what are your goals in terms of videography? You sent me this and you were like, I want to be able to do something kind of like this. This is kind of my idea of something that I like. And I was like, dude, that's amazing. I want to get Cesar to react to it because he's always sharing videos with me. And I don't know too much about like cinematography and all this stuff. But what I do know is he's got a great mind. He's the master, and he knows a lot. And so I want to show Cesar this video, and then we'll react to it. Get your thoughts on it. Get your thoughts on it. Get my thoughts on it, and then just ask away on questions in terms of technical aspects or just live questions, whatever it is, really. So without further
Another
ado,
clip.
here's the clip.
1, 2, and you wanna. Okay, 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 okay. Now, have you ever been with a place? Take you downtown where they treat me like the main. Take you to the crib when you take it upstate. What's upstairs? Shit, I'ma show you later. Don't need a spatula, everything catered. Extra flavor. Go ahead, sprinkle some truffle on your mashed potatoes. I'm tryna love you. Is you gon' love me back? You only get what you give. Ain't you heard of that? If you don't know what we talking about, I'ma have the whole band help me spell it out. Yeah, if you don't know what we talking about, concert session, here's your lesson, help me spell it out. F-L-L-Y. You ain't never seen nobody this fly. It's like we back in school again. Now come on, children, don't spell it out. F-L-L-Y. You ain't never seen nobody this fly. And I'm gone.
Ooh, fire. What are they selling, man?
uh,
What are they selling, man? The product is just needs to be at the end. That's all good. It's
um,
perfect. Oh, I like it.
Javier, what do you? So why did you show us that video, or why did you send me that video personally? Because I think it would be valuable for the audience to know.
So yeah, so just to give context to Cesar, so that's a Levi's commercial,
Beautiful.
um,
Exactly.
that was played on, it's been, I got it advertised to me just through social media, and I saw it, and what I really loved about it was just the color grading on it,
Yeah.
the way that that it looks, the way that it looks, the look and the feel of the advertisement is something that I want to achieve because I really love that kind of it looks kind of dreamy, you know what I mean? Like it has like
Oh,
a dreamy kind of like look to it.
yeah.
And uh it also looks like film, right? Like the kind of colors you would get from film. Um and I just really like that look. So so I kind of like looked into that video. Um and what's interesting too, I think it'd be worth watching maybe at a different point, but the creator of that video actually made a breakdown of how he did that video, um, which can be worth looking into. But basically, what's cool about it is that he used the FX30 to record that, which is, the new kind of quote unquote budget cinema camera from Sony that came out last year. And I think that's just super awesome because that's again a camera that's under $3,000, and he used a lens that I think was 100 to 200 bucks. It wasn't even that much, and he just achieved so much with just that camera and his rig. He didn't even have like a whole rig. It was all just with the in body stabilization, and ND filter and all that stuff. And he had a little monitor, but it was a very minimal setup. So it's just crazy to think that like you can achieve that with again, like I know you guys were talking about this earlier, but keeping things simple. You know what I mean? Like keeping things nice and simple and just achieving like the overall look that you're looking for. Like as long as it works, right? And that's I think color grading is a big help in that too, because color grading can literally make your video look so much more professional in a way, or just make it look a certain way and really achieve it and give it character. You know what I mean? I really like the character that the advertisement gives, as well as just the story that's displayed, where it shows like all these different kind of artists. You know what I mean? Doing their thing. My favorite shot, or my favorite portion of the commercial is it's definitely the little arcade transition that they did.
Yeah,
Where it was like those
big.
two
Same.
girls that were like outside, and then it transferred into the arcade, and I thought that was super super cool. So yeah, that's kind of why that one really intrigued me.
I love it.
Dude, that's awesome. That was my favorite part as well. What'd you think of that video?
Oh, it's perfect. I mean, yeah, exactly as you're kind of talking about the details of it. I mean, it gives you that perspective that again they were going a little handheld, but at the same time still felt pretty smooth throughout the movement. And then in addition to that, you have a camera system that's super reliable. I mean, the FX30 is like super fun and great for those type of shoots that are lifestyle. And then also what was really great too is that it seems like they kind of like had really solid ways of transitioning between different scenes that connected the shots. And so that
Hmm.
type of seamless transition can be really done well with keyframing, so that if your actor or actress ends up in like a weird little position, you can match that with the next shot so that when you cut into them, it actually looks very seamless in terms of just like being able to get that look where it's like you're still again that same person in another scene. It's yeah, it's fantastic when you can get that kind of look, man. I mean, I love it. I think that's what I strive for. And I think in terms of color grading, you do have plethora of like different systems. I mean, one of the ones that people really are talking a lot about right now is DaVinci Resolve. A lot of people really like going to DaVinci Resolve, and you can pull any specific style that you might really want from it. You can even get the Ari Alexa look into some of your content. But the important part is being able to record the right codec. So being able to record that really, like if you could get ProRes RAW out of your content, like, a nice cinema camera, sure, that's awesome. The FX30 still does shoot S-Log, which is really fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're able to get that still great from it. Now, again, it's just a matter of making sure you can push it properly, but also since this content is living on social media and things like that, it works fantastically for it. It does not need to be pushed to its limit. You're not going to blow this up on an IMAX theater. I mean, maybe you can, and even if you did, it's still going to read pretty well because of the style of color and what it is like. And then with the ND filters, it seems like a bit of use of like prisms that like give it that rich kind of glowy look that really like insinuate that old style vintage. A lot of people are loving that right now. I mean, you can see it all over
Yeah.
Instagram, different places. People are trying to emulate it. I mean, it's fantastic. It's a great idea. You kind of run with it. Also, that's the kind of stuff that is you're looking again to storytelling, really trying to identify again your process, and then again your ethos. What is the philosophy behind the work? What is it that you're interested in following through? I'm actually a really big fan as well of Vince Gilligan, the guy who directed Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and some of these other amazing films too. But one of the things that he's really fantastic and great at is getting a tone out of really the work that translates color to that specific tone in the scenes. When you're looking at the characters change clothing, you can see them become a different type of character. So it's interesting in
Hmm.
the show. You can actually see how light the show has begun in Breaking Bad, all the way till the end when it gets completely dark
Hmm.
and like everything is super contrast. And he shot that specifically with that intention to show you the change in character and the dynamics, and also just the way scenes are set. He's super seamless with transitions the same way. Like he has a scene where like someone is like being blended to death, which is crazy, and then next scene's like a vacuum cleaning, and it's like, wait, how did we get to a vacuum?
Uh,
But it's cool because he just can do those kind of scenes really well. So yeah, man, there's a lot of fun stuff to learn through all this process. I'm glad. Yeah, the FX30, I highly recommend it, man. I've been looking at it as a B cam right now for my FX3. I mean, I love my FX3. Like, I would not change it. If you can get an FX3 too, man, like, go for it. But yeah, it takes a little bit of time and processing, even more than the Sony systems like that are cinema grade, like the FX6 and the FX9. I mean, they're great too, and they serve bigger production like setups. But again, it's just a matter of what you're looking for and what you're shooting, and also how much control you have if you need to be using gimbals, because the gimbal work is, oh man, you need to have a good grip that's gonna really handle that weight all day and be able to give you those solid takes that you're looking
so
for.
yeah.
So in a controlled environment, this is perfect. This exact type of content that you're trying to shoot is fantastic. If you're shooting this on the go during like a run show, like yeah, like a fashion show or something like that, it might be tough to get those kind of shots. You might still be able to pull them out. It's a lot of reacting, right? So that's the differences between productions that really take an idea and actually can process through it and get things done and do retakes and things like that, versus I'm reacting to what's happening in front of me and I'm trying to just capture it. But some people are just good at that. Some of those party scenes that we saw that they were advertising from Vegas, the weekend
Oh
video that I
wow.
showed
Yeah.
Eric here. What did you like? I mean, for instance, in some of those scenes in that video.
I think the thing that like really gets me, like just trips me up a little bit, and I'll tell you why I say it like this, and then I'll tell you what I like, is because it looks so good, it doesn't look real. And I'm like, how is that possible?
Mm.
Because like the opening scene is like a slide of the moon, and this was probably made in After Effects,
Yeah.
saying like the wind slash the weekend's birthday party, and then it's this big zoom out, shoot all the way up. You see the Wynn Hotel, Las Vegas, and then it just zooms in, and you go from outside the hotel inside the hotel. I'm like, how does someone do that? And so, first of all, I'm like, that's crazy. But second of all, I'm like, well, let me try, and let me try to do this. One of my questions was going to be like, how does someone learn to shoot like that? Because that video you sent me, it's not super crazy and it's doable, but also I'm at the point where I'm like, dude, I have to respect this craft because that guy is a master of his work and that is a masterpiece. And it's like to get to some level close to that, very, very difficult. But the best way, at least for me, I'm thinking is like, okay, let me just copy it. Let me see if I can recreate that video. And like you said, if you're like at a run show or something like that, or a fashion show, it's gonna be very difficult. But if you have a controlled environment, that'll be ideal. And so to tie that back in, I just love, for me, I mean the black and white and the music. I think the music is everything, and then the second is the storytelling. That's
Yeah,
a
the
big
pacing,
aspect.
that's the art of its sound. If your
Yeah,
sound isn't paced with your visual, you're gonna
yeah,
lose people, or it's just not gonna have as impact as you want it to. Every single piece of content you're consuming has a pace,
yeah,
and I
Yeah.
mean, good content will always abide by that rule.
Yeah,
That
that sorry, I just wanted to add to that. Yeah, that's something that I've definitely learned from I mean, just from the small amount of videos that I've recorded so far, like is pacing. It really is key to a lot of how you're gonna tell your story. And especially finding like the right track, you know what I mean? Like the guy was saying when he was making that video, the Levi's commercial, he originally was gonna go with a different song, but then he kind of just played around, like it just didn't feel right, you know, like the song that he originally picked didn't feel right, so he went through like a bunch of other different songs, and finally he found one that he like he that fit, and he adjusted the video to that song, right? Because and it works, yeah. No, I think he did a really good job of pinpointing that. And I think to me also, because I have a musical background, and when I think of music and video just go so well together, and it's just to me it's a lot of fun, even just finding again, lining the music up perfectly with the video, and then the music also brings an inspiration to the video too, you know, like it can be vice versa, like the music can help you think of like a different shot or something. I mean, that's happened to me sometimes when it's like when I already have the soundtrack in my head, I'm like, okay,
yeah,
I
dude.
I know kind of like what the feeling I want to get out of this shot or something, right? So yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you guys on that. I think it's super super vital to really making that video pop.
Yeah, I think you also can think of like the process of what it takes to get pre-production done right. You know, they might have had an idea of shot lists already, but then making sure the models can process it and redo the same poses, and then also making sure that the lighting kind of matches depending on the time of day if they're filming outside. You know, some of it could have been shot totally green screen. We don't know the process of that specific, but it seems like again all was done authentically. And I think that's part of the effort of like working on a set that takes the time to create that type of production. You know, I think when you're in sync with everybody, you can recognize that your vision is, yeah, it's somewhat what we're following as a guideline, but the actual process and the result are actually going to be different, and that's always going to change based on the energy that's available that day. So you have to really approach it with an open heart when you're in production and recognize that wherever it needs to go, that's where it needs to go. You know, you just have to adapt to that. And also, I mean, when you propose ideas with like a solid budget, that's always a much much better process. But again, ultimately being able to be clever enough to change things up when things need to change and adapt to change is going to be important all through that process. I mean, you kind of have to respect it for that reason. You know, again, all the work, and hopefully he had enough time to put that together too, because the post production might also been like, hey, you got to get this out in a week or less
Yeah,
than a day. I mean, you could definitely handle it in a day if you don't even give yourself a break, which is not ideal. But again, it's part of the effort as a creator, and I think for us, we have to really kind of be mindful of that process. You know, one of the things that I've been considering a lot is like working within your range of what is respectable and also like acceptable for yourself, to say, hey, I have a standard of what I need to reach in my production. Oftentimes when I do a lot of like events that we film for, like I always think of like what are my key shots that I'm gonna make sure I get, but in addition to that, what are the shots I'm really thankful and like appreciate that I have, because if I don't have that feeling at the end of my shoot, then that's when I know there was a struggle and that there wasn't enough time to develop something solid. And I think it just goes back to the drawing board. Like you have to make you identify your standards and make sure you follow through with them on every production.
Dude, that's a great point. I just
Yeah.
want to chime in here and say that I know what you mean. Like you get your establishing shots, and then you get like your almost like your safety net that you have, and then it affords you that like ending time to basically mess around, experiment, get like those crazy shots you might not necessarily use, but if they work, they work, and if they don't, you have that safety net of like, okay, this is what I'm definitely going to use. That's great advice right there.
Definitely. I mean, this is why event like videography is great to develop those reflexes, because
Mm,
then when you're on set, you're also pretty useful. And then in addition to that, you have the ability to do it again, but you already have clear ideas of like how to really get something done. And then also, it's not about reinventing the wheel. I think sometimes people break their head thinking like, "Oh, I gotta make it this." It's like no, most people are replicating things they've seen, but ultimately turning that into their own style as they embark more into the work. And then also it's a matter of just making sure you've done a solid job. People are going to be happy with it, and ultimately you're telling a story. If there's a story to be told, it has to do two things: either has to entertain or educate. Those are the only two things videos can do. If they don't do any of those two things, I don't know what you're doing, you know.
definitely agree.
Yeah, great point. I also wanted to touch on, because this is something that I'm not very familiar with because I don't do it, but I know it's important to do, is like storyboarding or like getting like a form ready or like something ready with basically the shots in mind. Because what I've been doing when it comes to like, for example, like filming an educational video, I just kind of I like know where to go, like where I need to be and what footage I need, but I don't have like I don't put it on paper or anything. I don't put it on a document or anything. But I've now come to realize how important that really is. Um, so I don't know if you have any tips or if there's
Yeah,
any like
definitely.
or any like forms that like templates that people can use to really like organize their shots, because that's really efficient. So yeah, I love to learn more about that.
Yeah. So there's a handful of different YouTubers that have great stuff for resources. Peter McKinnon is the one I follow, but that's a pretty famous one. Um, there's definitely forms available. Would love to share any of what we got too as well. One of the things that I think has benefited us a lot, especially when we've done like live events and live stream and things like that, is we actually some more often than not we actually get a chance to scout locations. So scouting the location and just taking even pictures with your phone, and then filing them properly in a way that you can reference them throughout your process gives you enough perspective of being like, okay, this is kind of the setup I'm trying to look for to making sure that I can get this kind of look out of my shots. And then you can vary up your shots so that you can think properly. And you can literally just point and shoot the day before and be like, okay, I got an idea of exactly what I'm going to be looking at. And then if the weather changes a little bit or things like that, you're feeling a little bit more prepared of what you're going to be looking at. So that has helped a lot. A lot of people like that's one of the things that I think just like goes a long way. Some big production companies like on Netflix literally have teams dedicated to doing scout location, and also like all over the world. They'll send people out to Canada and they'll be like, all right, we're gonna go to this part of the mountains and we're gonna make sure that we this
Yeah.
far out we can go. And then this is the landing. I know that Alejandro Inarritu, when he was working on The Revenant, one
Oh
of the things that
wow.
was very specific about that film was that they were filming with natural light.
Yeah.
So no artificial light was used through any of that film. So the limits and constraints of filming like was super essential for them. So they needed to make sure they can like have that done properly. They needed to make sure that again people can get their cues for like those gimbal shots that they had where like you're basically it's a one stop, like pretty much a camera that doesn't stop cutting or anything like that. Like it's just incredible. But again, the choreography, the preparation, and then also of the bad days, there were bad days. There were bad days. You couldn't film on those days, so that's
Dude.
the cost of production. Once you get to that level, I mean, that's cinema, and it's incredible just to see what people are capable of doing.
Dude, that movie, I remember there's this one scene where Leonardo DiCaprio's like in like under the in an igloo with just a little fire, and you just see the mountains at night, and it's like, whoa,
Yeah,
that's
it's
amazing.
real.
Check that one out, guys. That's good.
It's a long movie, but definitely worth it.
That's a crazy one. Javier, you still there?
Yeah,
There we go.
perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's around 30 minutes right now. If you want to wrap up with any last questions, and we're gonna sign off.
Yeah, definitely just share those forms with me because it'll be very helpful for me, or just the templates just for storyboarding and stuff. Because I do want to be more organized. Um, and again, I just want to thank you guys for letting me just be on here. This has been really helpful. And my future plans right now is just really looking into color grading, and just looking into DaVinci Resolve. Like I said, I've been hearing all sorts of things about that program. So I definitely just want to check it out and play around with it. Um, and yeah, I mean, hopefully soon I'll buy an FX32. I've been saving up for that. So yeah, it's just really exciting stuff, and I'm just really happy to be able to talk with you guys about this. So yeah,
Uh,
Appreciate you.
love it, bro.
All right. Well, we
Thanks.
will be ending the
all
stream,
right.
guys. Appreciate you guys for checking it out. Javier, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.